Hello, and thank you for your interest in Chuckle's newborn sleep webinar. Um, just a little bit about me. So I'm Kirsty Irving, and also known as Chuckles. I am a sleep coach due to my daughter that you can see in the picture there. She stopped sleeping at three, and had us sleep deprived for 2 years. Probably 2.5 years actually. It's all a bit of a blur back then because when you're that exhausted, it is just a blur. So I really get you. I know what you're heading into. It's worth it. Those little bundles of joy really do make it worth it, but it is really exhausting at the start. And I'm hoping that some of this will make you feel a bit more reassured about what to expect and ways to manage it and to make it life a little bit easier for you as you go through the process of having a newborn. What I will say is definitely to start with, if you're expecting, please do get as much rest as you can. Really think about when you are going into labour, if you can, hold it out, try and get some sleep in between contractions. I know it can be quite tricky. But yes, anyway, let's go forward. Let's see what information we can give you to help you get into a good place. Okay, so the first 3 months of having baby is the terminology, the fourth trimester, is quite often used. And that's because they are coming into the big wide world. They are still really growing. They're growing their use of their lungs that they didn't have while they were in the womb. And their little tummies are starting to work, where before, obviously, they were on a constant feed. It is inevitable you are going to have sleep disruptions, and it is just temporary. Having that real preparation of looking after yourself as much as possible, getting that rest as much as possible, will make it more manageable. Trying to work as a team as much as you can. I know quite often mummies tend to take on the role a lot themselves because they've done all the growing, and they're doing quite often do a lot of the feeding. But really do, when you're not feeding, grab that bit of rest and you time as well. Keep in mind that every baby is unique, so all the information that you're going to get thrown at you having little ones, you get them from grandparents and parents and friends and everything. Just take that information and just do what's right for you and what's going to be best for you with it. But it is very important to look at the safety aspects of everything. So Lullaby Trust is where you want to go for in regards to safe sleeping. They are the national organisation for safe sleep. It's really good to be prepared and sort of know what the best way to do that co-sleeping if it happens. And the reason I say this is because it does happen a lot at the beginning, because you are so tired, you just want to grab whatever you can. But it's important to do it safely to avoid any SIDS. At least if you have prepared and potentially don't need it, but you know how to do it if you are in the early hours of the night, at least that way you can do it as safely as possible and take those precautions. So I know some of you are expecting, some of you already have your precious little ones, so hopefully this either sort of rings true, and those of you who've already got your babies are sort of nodding along a little bit. Still do go and have a look at the Lullaby Trust, just to help you through and to be clear of what the do's and don'ts are of safety. So womb to the world, when you've got your little one at this young stage, really looking at how it was for them in mummy's tummy and how we can make that as parallel as possible now that they're in the big wide world is really going to make things better for you and for baby. Because if they feel everything, you can make things as familiar as possible, then they'll feel as settled as possible. So where it's dark and very red from the blood cells in the womb, avoiding bright lights and making sure that the canopies are up on any push chairs or Moses baskets and stuff will help them to feel a bit more settled, because that bright light is quite a new thing for them. Being aware that their tummies are only little, and they are every 2 hours to start with, if not less, until your milk comes in. Day 3 is when your milk usually comes in. You get a bit of a hormone surge and you can feel quite low on that day potentially. So be prepared for that day 3, and just know that it is part of those hormones and that it is okay and natural and normal. They are just learning to breathe, which is why you get a whole lot of wind happening. And also going back to sort of the food side, the digestion and all of that mouth action and everything, it's all a really new thing to them. So it does take a little bit of time, and just trying to keep yourself calm through these windy times and trying to feed times will really help baby feel calm and be able to take and manage it as well. They really are picking up on how you are and how you're breathing, which is one of the reasons that they're asked to be in your room for the first 6 months, just to help them regulate that breathing. They do have a sort of a mismatch pattern. Sometimes they almost just forget how to breathe because it's not something that they have been doing in the womb. So they hear your breathing and then they pick up from that. So that's why they request a lot of sort of skin to skin, and so they can hear your breathing and your heartbeat and everything feeling very normal to what it was while they were in the womb. Temperature wise, it's really important to look at making sure they don't overheat, because they don't have a internal thermometer while they're little. So they can't sort of start sweating to bring their temperature down or anything like that. Be very careful in regards to how many layers you put on them. It's almost better to sort of check those bits, their hands and their toes, but also mainly their chest and their back, to see how warm they are. Quite often people will fold up a blanket and then put it over the top of their car seat or their pushchair or something. Just bear in mind you're then applying 4 layers on top of them. So just give them an extra layer than yourselves, and that's usually sort of the best indicator that was given to us by a health visitor, and sort of what we've followed by. While they're in the tummy, everything's very muffled. Nothing's quite like sudden sounds, because they've got obviously all that water and skin protecting them. So again, sort of be aware of noisy environments. If they are trying to get some sleep, then you could maybe try and put them in a quiet corner, or use white noise to help muffle out that external sound and to give that consistent sound that they would have had of the whooshing in the tummy. And also they have that consistent heartbeat while they're in the womb as well. And quite often you find lots of people do it naturally anyway, but quite often they will pat their bottom. That's a good way to settle while they're really little, because it stimulates the heartbeat. So when they're head down and they're ready to join us, they feel your heartbeat sort of giving that pumping on their bottom. So again, that gives it that real familiarity to what it was like while they were in the womb. Sleep environment is one of the things that's really worth getting right, because obviously you're going to have those times where you're awake while they're little, and while they're awake while they're little. But if you can get these elements working on your side, then it gives them the optimal possibility of getting the rest that they need. And the more that they can try and get the sleep that they need, the more lengthier sleeps you're likely to see. So we all go through a sleep cycle. Children have a 45-minute sleep cycle. To us, I don't know if you've experienced it before, but you fall asleep in one position and then you wake up in the morning, you're in a different position, which all seems very odd sometimes. But we have those micro wakings where we'll just make ourselves really comfortable and go back off to sleep, where for babies it's a new thing. And so those knitting of sleep cycles aren't quite going to happen straight away. But having this environment right for them gives them the best opportunity to start practicing that knitting from one sleep cycle into the next. Like I say, that breathing, if you are having a stressful time, if there is some trapped winds going on, they always suggest sort of bringing their legs up to their tummy like they were sat in the womb. That gives it the chance for it to push through if it's coming out the other end. Working with the day and night, that's definitely one of the first lessons I would look at working with. In the morning, see if you can try and get out into the natural light while they're awake, giving them that, working on that circadian rhythm, and getting their bodies working in that natural rhythm of daytime and nighttime. They are sort of those nocturnal babies at the start with, and there is no daytime or nighttime happening for them. So it is something that one of the first lessons that they learn. But giving them that morning light before lunchtime really teaches them that this is daytime. So if you can do that, you'll start to notice that they'll start to be more settled in the evenings and sort of more alert and awake during the daytime. I definitely consider swaddling. If you get on the Lullaby Trust, there is a description on the best way to do it. This is because they have a startle reflex at the beginning, so you'll see them. I always used to think that Emily looks like a little a show woman, where she would just do this every now and again and jerk. That's completely natural. If you can swaddle them while they're sleeping, that gives them that sense of being back in the womb and all snuggled up, and makes them have that startle reflex less while they're sleeping, and it doesn't then disturb their sleep. When you do start to see signs of them rolling, that is the time to start coming out of the swaddle, because obviously they'll be potentially be stuck on their fronts if they've got to their front, or their sides, and it's not so comfortable or safe. So I know we did with Emily and William. I think we took one arm out and swaddled with just one arm, and then took the other arm out, so they're still swaddled with their legs, and then we took the swaddle away and moved on to a sleep bag. Sleep bags are great because they prevent any sort of toes popping out and getting a bit cold, or hands popping out and getting a bit cold. Again, I mentioned in the previous slide, white noise is a really valuable tool. It's not something that I found out about until, or the science behind it, until having done my training. So I didn't use it with my little ones, but it is definitely something I used with William for quite a while. It really protects those external sudden sounds. It provides a consistent background, so it's the same as what it was before as they went to sleep, as it is if they come into that light sleep cycle and they're trying to knit into the next sleep cycle. These are great, but please be sure to look at getting one that is a consistent 12 hours sort of scenario, because if you have one such as the Ewan sheeps, they only go on for sort of 30 minutes, and they may trigger once they've started to stir. But if you're in the light part of their sleep cycle, in their micro waking, and then it starts, it's not produced that consistency, because they've started waking or started rousing from that sleep cycle before it kicks in. So actually it's better to have one that's continuous. And also just to be mindful of screens. I know obviously at newborn age they're not going to be sat there watching TV yet as such, but I know, for example, myself, when I was feeding William during the night, we'd have the big TV screen on just to try and keep myself awake. I put the subtitles on so that the sound wasn't affecting. But actually, now I think about it, I probably would have been better off with a small screen that isn't going to produce so much light and then make him more alert or suppress some of that melatonin. So it would absolutely help in regards to a reset or going back off to sleep as soon as they've had a feed. I do recommend sort of nearer to 1, you start to introduce a comforter. That it is recommended by the Lullaby Trust that they don't use one before 1. And you can introduce that beforehand, bring it into cuddles, bring it in during the day. Use it when you're feeding. Muslins work quite nicely because they sort of soak in some of your scent, and so that therefore that scent is then with them if you're not directly there. Gives them that little bit more reassurance again on that light part of sleep cycle. If they can smell mummy or daddy or a primary caregiver, then they can then resettle. If everything looks the same as it does when they first went to sleep, then the chances are they'll nip back into that next sleep cycle, which would be wonderful. Sorry, I've just skipped. There we go. So yeah, reflux. I'd like to sort of share the knowledge of reflux just because I think having that knowledge and awareness of it really gives you that reassurance to sort of go and get some support with it as soon as you feel that that's potentially there. So what's happening is the lower part of their esophagus, which you can see on the bottom picture of the stomach there, it's burning on the lower part of the esophagus because that sphincter is not closing effectively. You will hear it as a sort of a high-pitched cry usually after a feed or being laid down where that fluid is potentially got that opportunity to come back, or you get a lot of sickness from a reflux baby. So it is recommended that you speak to a GP. Or the other thing I would really recommend is having a look at the reflux lady. She shares a lot of sort of tips on YouTube and social media. So if you've started to feel that that's something that's potentially happening for you and you're hearing that high pitched cry, then definitely go and follow her. Wake windows are a wonderful tool. I use them a lot within my sleep training, and they help protect. So they're the stretch of time that they're awake in between naps. If they are stretched too long, then they do start to produce a hormone called cortisol. That can obviously not straight away at the beginning, but as time goes on, that can cause early rising, nap resistance, and night wakings. So if you can try and keep inside those wake windows, then you're more likely to have a baby that sleeps longer periods and gets a more deeper sleep, which is great for their development and for everybody, including yourself's mental health. Monitoring these wake windows can avoid any sort of sleep regressions. That 4-month regression is usually your first one that you come across. All of these regressions are usually based on developmental leaps or their growth or what they've developed at that time. And if you can keep within these wake windows, it will really help that. They do change as they grow. And so as they grow, their stamina will grow in regards to how long they can stay awake for. But remembering is sort of like, I like to base it on adults as well. If you're having your first experience somewhere or your first, I don't know, a day trip somewhere, it can be exhausting because everything's so exciting and new and different, and there's so much to look at. Or your first day at work in a new job, although you may have been doing the job for years, you feel exhausted by all the faces that you've seen and trying to figure out where the toilets are and etc. And so the chances are that as an adult, you'll go and have an early night. And so that really just shows in our terminology how it sort of affects them as little ones as well. So here's a few sleep schedules for you to see what you're likely to expect. In the first 3 months, it is very sporadic. There's not really a regular time that's happening, and that's because it's been happening in the same way in the womb. But you are likely to see maybe up to 45 minutes by the time they're 3 months of wake periods, and then they'll want to go back for a rest. The reason I'd say that this would really help in regards to knowing now is so that when they are coming to that 45 minutes of being awake, you might put them in the position of optimal sleep environment. So then you would put the canopy up on the Moses basket, maybe keep it calmer around that time, or maybe go for a walk, make them all nice and cozy, get them in their swaddle at that point, so that they can have a good deep rest. It then makes it easier for them to do that self-settle, and so they're already practicing it at an early age, because they're in that, they've got everything working for them, the environment's working for them, the timings are working for them, and so that they can develop that skill early on. So that will really be helpful for you. At 3 to 6 months, you're looking at a 1 to 2 hour wake window at a time. Obviously, you'll start getting your smiles and things happening there, and the extension of their vision will develop. So then everything's then getting that little bit more. Well, there's more to see. There's more going on because they can see that bit further. Their eyes would have developed. So yes, so watching those wake windows again to prevent too much exhaustion, and you'll be aiming for sort of a 4 or 5 hour quantity of sleep over a day. You'll start to see there's a bit more of a pattern happening by about 3 to 6 months. It's a good place to start doing a bedtime routine. Obviously, you can do it from the very beginning. You can practice having that bath at the same time and really having those cues in. But definitely you want to be making sure by 3 to 6 months that will also protect that 4-month sleep progression. 6 to 9 months, you'll be looking at a 1.5 to 3 hour wake window. These are quite wide wake windows, and that's because obviously every child is unique. Every child is going to have a different stamina from the very beginning in regards to their sleep. Again, you'll be looking at a 3 hour and 45-minute day sleep, and I sort of popped on a bit of a schedule here that you might be expected to see. If sleeps are a little bit shorter than you may expect, then you might make sure that the wake window is a little bit shorter for the next sleep, just to give that, then you'll get into that deeper sleep into the following nap. Yeah, so I hope that's helpful for you. So yes, routines can start from the very beginning, especially when it comes to a book. There's never too early to read a book to your baby. The more books they can read, the more calming and value for literature and how relaxing that is for them, and the value that it brings is phenomenal. Making sure that you've got them in that predictable, dependable environment will then give them that chance to settle down. Bath doesn't have to be every night, but obviously you're going to have some sort of washing or getting pajamas on scenario. Lots of people like to implement things such as a massage. My two have eczema, so they basically, or not Emily now, she does it for herself, but they almost have a little massage each night before they go to bed with all their emollients. This routine, especially if you start to bring it in quite early, then it really gives that predictability of what's going to happen within each, once these actions have happened. So each time that the bath, the milk, the book's done, then they're likely to know that this is the sort of time that they settle down for a sleep. And then when you've got that environment working right for them, it makes it, again, those triggers are going to allow that sleep to happen nicely and easily for them. So it's nice to have a little think about what personal rituals that you might do as a family for yourselves. Lots of family, obviously I've worked with quite a lot of families, and so everybody does it a little bit different. One family I worked with had a song that they sung to their child every night before they went to sleep. This worked quite nicely as a tool that we then implemented into nursery. So they would play that song, they'd either sing the song that the parents would sing to them, or they would play a video of obviously not seeing the screen, but they would play the parents singing the song, and it would help that child to know that that's what's happening. It's time to settle down for a sleep. But yeah, looking at those little bits and pieces that you puzzle in together as your perfect sleep situation for your child. Please do make sure that you prioritize your sleep. I know obviously at the very beginning you're very excited to share your baby, and everybody wants to come and see your new bundle of joy. But don't hesitate to say, oh, please, can I go and have a rest, to your nearest and dearest. Please don't think that your house has to be immaculate. Everybody knows that when you've got a newborn baby, there are going to be messes on the side where you've just grabbed a bit of food where you can. 99% of people understand what's happening for you at the beginning. And so prioritizing yourself and your little one's rest is really valuable to their development, your mental health, and everybody's overall happiness. So really do focus on you and your family. So I've just popped on a few reviews and how that they worked out as they went. So Emma came to me with her 4-year-old little boy. They were expecting their baby within 10 days. She was having a C-section in 10 days. And so she really did put me under the deadline on this one, and getting everything right for her and getting it right for them as a family before baby arrived was really crucial. At the time when they first started, little guy was going to bed at 8 a.m. at night. He was waking up about 6 times a night and calling out from his bed for her to come. After working together, we'd established a comforter, and he was getting some full nights ready for the baby to arrive, which meant that Mum did actually get, I think it was 1 full night's sleep before she had her operation, bless her, and then went into newborn again. But yes, so not having to have to juggle her 4-year-old and the newborn was really essential for them, and it really works, which is great. So this family, they had previously tried controlled crying, which I do ask that if you do feel that you're having these challenges and it has been going on for a little while, it can cause a bit of trauma in regards to how the parents and little ones feel about sleep and how to get to sleep. Because without getting all the other bits in place first, then it can make it really hard for everybody. So getting your environment right and all the multiple different aspects that I go through with families before we start is really essential to help that be more comfortable process of getting to learn to sleep. Little man was waking up at 4:30 and only getting half an hour to 40 minutes napping, which is obviously really hard then to get any catch-up sleep for the family without tag teaming. Obviously they're not always going to be there together to be able to do that tag teaming, but if you can imagine trying to get little one down and then them catching 30 minutes sleep, you might get 20 minutes sleep yourself. And that's a really painful wake up after only a short amount of time when you're absolutely exhausted. So it was really valuable for them to come and work with me. So with this family, we had to look at a 3-week shift pattern because that's what was happening work-wise for them. And so every 3 weeks, the quantity of childcare and who was involved was very different. So this is why what works with me works sort of long periods and is sustainable, because we make sure that it fits with what's happening in their day-to-day. No one size fits all plans don't tend to work long period. So by the end of getting this 3-week shift pattern working for them, they were getting full night's sleep, and again they had a comforter established, and he had a little name which was lovely. And then thirdly, this little guy, because he was not getting enough sleep, it was really affecting his behavior, and this is very common. he, as you can see from what Mum says, he was no longer aggressive after getting his full amounts of rest. It was causing Mum to be quite anxious. So when they were going out to play groups, he would either have tantrums or he would not cope with social situations. And so it was becoming that it was affecting not just their night, but the rest of their days. So it was really a great time for them to come. Little one was up until sort of 12 midnight, and it was just getting that they weren't having that relationship time to strengthen the bond of the parents. So that was another element that needed to change for them. After working with me, little one was happy and he was responsive to what Mum was saying, and she said his development just went through the roof, which to me means more than anything because it really does affect them as much as it's affecting us. Comforter again was established. You can see here he wasn't so keen on his sleep bag, so we popped his comforter, his favourite teddy, in the sleep bag for a little while to really make it something that he would want to do rather than something that he had to do. And he moved back into a cot. They popped him into a big bed, but actually at the time he was only just 2. And so ideally you want to be looking at sort of as close to 3 as possible to move them into a bed that they can come in and out of. I followed up with them a year later and they're still getting that really good long sleep. I do like to check in and just see if there's anything we can run by if we can in a few questions, and actually they were doing absolutely fabulously. So if it does come to the point later down the line that you do need to invest in your sleep, I do a full range of packages, and I will be doing more and more workshops that will be recorded and obviously on a cheaper scale for my clients. So for £50, you can get a one-off consultation just to really troubleshoot one area, or you can be looking at £450 where you would have the hand holding and you could text me at any time and sort of discuss what's happening, and really get that working for you, and you'd have my full attention for a good month. Support packages all include a full assessment form which really rules out any medical conditions, a personality detector because that's a really important element to work out, get your information about your child to be able to allow me to work what's right for that child, and to get those plans fitting in with the commitments that are essential to you as a family. Bespoke plan is getting you and your child the sleep that you deserve, and that's essential. It's as essential as water and food. And so for that growth and happiness and detoxifying your brain for everybody, sleep really is worth every moment. Please do share my details with any friends or family if they are tired or struggling. For every support package that's purchased, I will be sending you a high street voucher, the gift voucher, to say thank you. So please do share my details and spread the word. Here's my contact information. So I do a little bit on TikTok as well, but not a huge amount. So yes, please do share it with as many as you like. And I look forward to hoping that you'll follow me with so that you can pick up some ideas as I go along with the information that I share. And thank you for joining me. I've really enjoyed sharing this information with you, and good luck on your future labours if you've got babies on the way, or if you've already got your precious bundle of joy. Take those deep breaths, keep going, and it will get easier, I promise. Take care. Thank you.